October 17th, 2017, I walked into the door at Yelp, having left Bloomberg after 9 years, and our CEO said to me, Darlene, our reps need more structure, accountability, and discipline in their days. Sound familiar? Experience taught me that developing a playbook from scratch was probably what Yelp needed most. But how are we even defining a playbook? We'll make it really easy for today. A playbook is defined as a one-stop resource that helps our reps to be more effective and efficient in their jobs. But why? Why do we really want to create these playbooks? What's behind all of this? 60% of deals in our current pipelines today never close. 60%. Of that 60% of deals that never close, the question is, what the heck happens to those deals? Where are they going? Just over half of those are going to an indecision. The buyers on the buying team and the cast of characters isn't even talking about your product or solution. They're doing some internal conversations around where they're even focusing their business. The other 50% is going to the form of an objection, or the clients or customers saying, we don't see value. Either it actually doesn't solve for something that's going on in my business, or in fact, maybe the rep didn't stitch it together well enough in order to make a difference. And so I think the opportunity of creating a playbook can impact that number. It also impacts a whole bunch of other things that you'll define, such as better pipeline momentum, greater deal value, conversion of proposals over to contracts faster, and it can also impact the lifetime value of your clients. So over the next 20 minutes, let's have a look. I've been a little beat up over the course of 15 years creating playbooks, and I've learned some lessons along the way. When I created this content, I thought, let's dial it up a notch and let's move beyond the familiar and see what I can provide to you. This is not a perfect formula, step by step, I's dotted and T's crossed, or a deep dive on content. Someone else is doing that. But these are some lessons learned on how to engage with stakeholders in your teams to bring a playbook to life. And to bring a playbook to life, not just that results in really great content, but a playbook that reps access, use, and they actually generate sales results and hopefully make your reps a little bit more money along the way. Sound like fun? All right, let's have a look here. Everyone on our sales teams would agree that they're selling and that they're engaging with clients. Everyone on a nightclub dance floor is agreeing that they're dancing, or on a ballroom dance floor, they agree that they're all dancing. But I guarantee you, even though they're selling or dancing, they've all got different moves. They've all got different plays that make them unique. Managers, teams, they make up stuff. Based on reps' experience, they walk in the door from other companies or internal movement, and they've got their own song going on in their head, and they go on their merry way and engage. And these playbooks start to intersect. So very early on, one of the lessons I learned, yes, you want to go out and herd the animals in the wild and figure out what's going on out there, but you're doing this with one specific purpose in mind, in addition to bringing in good content. You want to take very close inventory of what's going on out there, because by the time you come back to position and roll out your playbook, you will have already got and secured some buy-in and support around the concept of the playbook, which is fantastic. But what you'll also have done is you know how to communicate it and position it back out. We discovered on 2 of our teams at Yelp that we had reps going out and they were positioning us with 4 capabilities. They were talking about e-commerce, they were talking about delivery, when really, at the end, our playbook was around, well, Yelp drives leads and Yelp drives visits. And so when we went back to that team, we had to get them to discontinue 2 of the things that they were saying in order to refine that message. So even though we're creating these assets in these playbooks, it's really change management in disguise from the very, very start, and getting that active buy-in and support. When teams have come together, in my experience, they go down this very straight line, one directionally often. They come together and they say, great, let's create a playbook. Let's think about what are our products, what are our services, what are our benefits, what are our features, what makes us unique, how do we want to position ourselves out there in the market? And all of a sudden we start to get this lopsidedness that starts to be about us, ourselves and our products, our services, whatever words you want to put in there. And very strongly and very quickly, I'd recommend that we don't go down that path. I've seen that path happen before. So the lesson learned as sales enablement professionals, how can you get in front of the cast of characters that's coming together and say, let's start with our clients. Let's start with our customers. And specifically what? We don't need to overcomplicate this. It's what are our client goals? What are their objectives? What are their KPIs? And then when you start to turn that corner a little bit, it's around what are the challenges and the speed bumps that they're experiencing in getting to those goals. And that's where the intersection of your product stuff comes down the road, but you need to get lockstep in there. You'll develop a hypothesis that will talk about how you think you can help solve for certain things, that challenge, in order to help them achieve their goals, but get lockstep in that. And the other interesting part is a lot of teams get very centric and one-directional around how are we competitive? What makes us unique? And I actually don't even recommend you go that far early on in a playbook development. It would be saying, listen to this carefully, in the eyes of our customer, relative to how our customers view the competition, what do we need to do? I'll do that one more time. In the eyes of the customer, relative to how the customer perceives the competition. In fairness, at Yelp, it's like, how do our clients perceive traditional marketing venues? How do our clients perceive the Googles, the Facebooks, and all of the other options of the world? We have to get anchored in that as a really good spot. Okay? There's a blessing and a curse with all playbooks. This much time, this much content, this much opportunity. Where do you start? Here's the recommendation. 2 times now, I've worked with teams that have said, we just need to get going on our playbook. This fundamentally meant we went live with playbooks that were incomplete. They were scrubbed, the parts that we did go out with, but they weren't finished. One of my clients previous to Yelp, they said one thing, help, we need more leads into our pipeline, and we need our reps having better meetings. And so what we did, we literally patched together a playbook that got more into the pipeline and gave the organization and the framework for our reps to go out and have initial discovery calls. And that worked. And then we said, holy shit, we have all these clients. What do we do with them? And then we created the rest of the playbook downstream. And interestingly, at Yelp, we came in the door and we created a little bit more robustness around our products and our solutions because we had to get some clarity there. But my favorite thing is that we went out and we said, what are the top 6 verticals we want to start with? We wanted to start with restaurants and retail and automotive and hotels. And once we pushed that out the door in May, guess what we're doing now? Another 6 playbooks looking at very different industries. And so we just got it out and the market continues and the reps tell us to continue what to do. Now here's a pro tip, an insider tip. As you're identifying and starting to put together the components of your playbook, you'll have an agenda, a laundry list, key components, whatever you're going to call it. Please ensure that you work with the collective people in your groups and come up with the proper naming conventions or language. The language will stick. So whether you call them solutions or products, it doesn't matter. Pick one. Whether you call them clients or customers, it doesn't matter. Pick one, but do it from the outset because the people listening, both internally, need to hear that from day one. So if there's any pause you can bring it there. So far, so good? All right, let's have a look at this. If I told you all to build me a castle, what would it look like? A little bit of the one on the top or a little bit of the one on the bottom? In the world of pulling together content, it's one of the most fascinating and frustrating experiences. I strongly believe that sales enablement teams are not the owners of the content. They are the orchestrators, the packagers, the coordinators of ensuring the people that need to use the playbooks and need to follow the step-by-steps in the plays are actually the ones creating the content. And so as you're going out and you're sourcing, different people in your organization, could be inside and outside, Your ability to be unbelievably clear in what you're looking for in your content and then tweaking it along the way will pay off in multiple benefits down the road. We had 7 weeks to create a playbook before we did a big launch at a manager summit this May in Phoenix. And we pulled together 4 office heads across the country to start to come up with some content. And we went out and we said, hey, we need some content on what's going on in this particular industry. What are some of our products and ad tools that actually line up with this industry? And then we gave them this bucket and we said, hey, what kind of nuances do our reps need to be aware of selling into this vertical? And we were 48 hours out from launching our playbook live to our reps in our entire multi-loc org. And our content was as varied as these 2 photos. And so what we realized quickly was, oh shoot, we should have been more specific in our direction. What do we mean? Hey, enterprise office head, I want to know the nuances that happen in this playbook. And I want to know the nuances that the reps need to know by engaging with clients in this vertical. What did we mean? We specifically meant, who are the cast of characters that we want to be reaching out to? What are their roles? What are their responsibilities? What KPIs do they have on their backs? Specifically, how do they work internally to make decisions? What are they focused on? What do they care about? How about some other things? Who are they connected to? And what kinds of objections do we run into when we're trying to do business in those areas? We totally goofed. And so guess what? On another 6 playbooks that we're developing now, we have got that structure and we learned that lesson early on. So the generalities won't cut it, and don't leave it to chance and have multiple iterations. This will be really helpful for you. All right, think of the most functional airport hub in the whole wide world. And we all know that it's not SFO right now. Your playbook operates as a hub. It is a central, whatever word you want to use, repository and information going in and going out and flowing through. Our current playbook exists, it's about 4 to 6 pages. Now, here's the cool part. I have an extreme paranoia of protecting reps' time. That means that the inundation that's going on in reps' playbook, reps' inboxes and emails drives me bananas. We've got product sending product updates some days when I walked in the door, leadership giving updates, marketing with their new events and things that are happening. That has to stop. And so if you think about this hub in your role as air traffic controller is to ensure that the coordination and the sequencing of everything coming in and going out, in fact, is organized in a thoughtful way that the reps actually use it and can access it in the moment that they need it. It's not like, oh, where was that document again? No, whatever you can do to give the reps extreme rep focus. We're actually working right now with our sales and marketing infrastructure to see if as soon as a rep opens a new opportunity in Salesforce, maybe it's in retail, we're going after H&M, boom, up comes the retail playbook. And as it navigates along, it'll help the rep at each stage of the sale depending on their experience. So even though we're still evolving there, if you can start to look at your content in this hub, so even though our playbook is 4 to 6 pages right now, please create them in the cloud. Please don't ruin trees. Please do everything you can. You can do little laminates on desks. It's really helpful to start to categorize in whatever way makes sense and matters to you. How do we want to package this content? A-level content would be non-negotiable. Do not pass go. This is your primary offerings. This is about primary information about your clients, what you're offering to them, nuances that go on, and possibly some tools. The B-level content I start to look at are things that can help a rep depending on the nuance of the client or depending on the rep experience. So the B-level content for us are things like power maps. We ask that all of our reps create a power map to scope out bigger opportunities so we know what's happening. We have question repositories in there. So as you're navigating through each stage of the sale, that we actually have questions that align. Operationally, we've stitched in our sales process into our sales playbook. We have 4 stages: detect, identify, clarify, execute. That's the type of stuff that sits in the B level, and it gets a little bit into A depending on what it looks like. C-level stuff can be articles and additional tools and resources and nice to haves, depending on what the rep is focused on, depending on where the business is headed. So the earlier you can categorize that, admittedly, last December, we had some team members working on a playbook. Somehow it ballooned to 26 pages. Not cool, not gonna work. We brought a team together and we quickly pared it back. And we have links out of one GDoc and they go all over the place. Seems to be working. We just need to make sure I'm getting incredibly obsessed of where can the reps get this when they need it. That's what's gonna make a difference. The access is key. This isn't your playbook. And that's hard. That you don't, do you technically own it? Did you sign out the library book? Maybe. Sales enablement doesn't own the playbook per se. Who owns it? Leadership owns it. Managers own it. Reps own it. Different stakeholders own it. You just happen to be this centralized resource that can help pull it together. Specifically, when you're thinking about executing and rolling it out, I think we did 3 things really well, and we learned these lessons from kind of a few bumps along the way. When we got our essential playbook together in May, it was all around, okay, Darlene, what are you and your team going to do, and how are you going to help roll it out? I said, we're going to help roll it out by making sure you're ready to roll it out. So we were the behind the scenes preparers of our CEO, our VP, and our enterprise office head in front of all of our managers in May. We packaged them up and trained them up to design and deliver to all of the managers. We did a day-long rollout. It was full of information and exercises, but they owned it. We didn't own it at all. And then 1 month after May, our CEO and other stakeholders in marketing and product did a roadshow. And they did a roadshow. Guess what? I was hiding in the corner. We had something to do with it, but it was all of the reps came into the room, and the Toms and the Joes of the world got up and they shared it, and they facilitated the exercises with the reps that the managers had already facilitated. So we continued to roll this forward. It was like a really good baton that was being handed off. And now, still to this day, my team probably gets bored of me, I don't let them train at all. I say to them, you know what can you package up to put in the hands of managers so that the managers can take this to the teams? And or we've got advocates, we've got some reps that are doing really awesome things. We've got a rep that is blowing it out of the water, getting more leads than anybody. What's his formula? Let's package that together. And so your role is to see and spot these opportunities and get packaged. So we created these mini scrimmages. So at the end of September, what we're doing is we've got these 6 new playbooks. I've got Ashley in Phoenix today. What is she doing? She's coming up with this mini scrimmage. Hey managers, let's come together. You know, we had the first 6 playbooks around 6 different verticals. We've got 6 more. She's giving them the script, she's giving them the talking points, and she's making it ridiculously easy. Take 10 minutes in your team meeting this week. Roll out this part. Take 10 minutes in your following week. And she's got these little dotted seeds along the way that are helping the managers to fully own it and the reps to own it. Sure, we show up and help a little bit, but along the way, the managers feel fully involved, and I think it's making a big difference along the way. The playbooks are out in the wild. The reps start using them. Invariably, there's still going to be some different dance moves to this day. And so the fun part is that every day you walk into a door, and I think you have one primary obligation, is to put on your playbook headspace with every meeting and with every interaction. Our VP started having conversations with HR around performance scorecards and metrics and what the reps needed to be held accountable for. We knew we had standards in the playbook. Create a multi-tier strategy, create a wider network, move from pilots over to campaigns faster, front-run objections. That was playbook stuff. Guess what we did? We worked with HR, and now our reps are evaluated on the core standards that sit in the playbooks. And they're not just words. When we say develop a multi-tier strategy, we help them to learn how to do that, and we train the managers on how to coach and build skill and capability around that. So that starts to come full circle. The other thing that we did was we realized we need reps to have a repeatable, consistent approach. Time and time again. It didn't matter if you came into the door at Yelp and you had been there 3 months, or you were a veteran enterprise salesperson with experience out there. We needed to feel confident that baseline was not being eroded. And this is tough. You've got people in your organizations who've been there for a really long time, some people who've just joined. We needed to get baseline. So we created something called Project Simplify. And we worked with our friends in sales planning, marketing world, and we started to go to the drawing board, and we literally made decks that were used in discovery calls and some recommendations and pitches down the road. And the reps have access to these, linked off of the hub and the playbook, so that every time they open up an opportunity, they have to use this consistent deck. Now, there's some freedom and there's some room to breathe, and we position it that way that we're not turning them into puppets that don't have a voice and a mind, but we show them where they have creative license, because we can't afford to goof up any meetings. The complexities of the sales environment are way too high. We can't afford to misfire. And so we took it one step further, because I'm like, you know what? Those reps are still going to make up their own stuff. And they did. I want to put in this Google stat, and I want to put in this because it's cute and it's fun. The answer was, we actually created a deal desk. 48 hours before any rep is going into a meeting, and we have exceptions because we'll take meetings anytime, they needed to submit their deck to a deal desk. There's 10 of us on an alias, and it's sent into pitch review alias, and one of us picks it up, whoever can, and it's actually random and it works. And we're looking for consistency of message, consistency and proper use of data, proper use of logos. Reps do all sorts of fancy creative things. And so it's really awesome that we pick these things up. And guess what? My team is also studying all of the pitch review, all these decks that are coming in. And guess what they're doing? They're analyzing it for patterns and themes, coming back and saying, what else do we need to do? I'd love to put the pitch review alias out of business. That would be a goal down the road. Okay. So how do we tie this all together? This my sweet baby girl, Emmeline, up here, she, mom fail, July 20th, she got accepted into pre-K 3. All that means is she goes from preschool over to pre-K 3. My mom fail was she gets accepted and they have to be potty trained. And I'm like, oh no, she was the only one in her class that had not been potty trained. And I had 6 weeks to do it. So like a true sales enablement mother, what do? I make up a playbook for how to potty train your daughter who hasn't been potty trained, that's also going on a 2-week vacation, how she can get potty trained by September 5th. And so what did I do? I followed some of these 7 things. I looked at some of the moves going on out there. I talked to Hillary downstairs. I talked to another friend on the playground. I did it from her vantage point, all of these things. And I just started to cobble something together. But if all else fails, here's what I did. July 20th, I just started. I didn't really have much done, just started. What did that mean? We woke up, and every 20 minutes, which turned into every 10 minutes, I have this like diaperless child running around the house for 3 days. And I started to implement a system that I kind of sort of think I knew in my head. And within 1 week's time, she was running accident-free, but I also carry a potty in my backpack. But the point is that just go out and start and trust that any approach will work. Sometimes people say, Darlene, should I put these components into my playbook or these? Should we separate by geo, by vertical, by experience? The answer is yes. All you need to do is account for the implications of the decisions that you make with your playbook. There's going to be implications downstream, and you just account for those. And the thing is, results will come. I can sit here, and in the green room back here, we've got leadership. Can we add this to the playbook? Can we add this to the playbook? Can we change this? And you've got to look at that carefully. The results will come if you stay the course. Emmeline got potty trained by the time we got onto an airplane. Maybe I put a pull-up on her, but she got potty trained in time. Your teams will get the results in time, but you've got to stay the course. And then if all else fails, M&M's worked. My daughter lived on goldfish and M&Ms for a very long time as a reward. You want to think about those things along the way too. This is basic business, but at the end of the day, these are pretty big feats that you're undertaking, and you'll do a fantastic job if you reward along the way. So, I've got 7 things here for you to think about, contemplate about. There's never a perfect order. They'll all work, make up your own version, and you'll be perfectly okay. Fun times. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Okay. Questions? Is that for you? Who has some questions? Anybody? Hi.
How many playbooks do you have currently running at any given time?
So in our multi-location group, we have 3 business areas. We have a mid-market group, we have an enterprise group, and a partner agency group. Just say, easy sake, we have 3 groups. Our 3 groups got together to create one baseline playbook, and then each of the sales enablement team members started to tweak according to that business group. When I say that we've got all these different verticals, they're just nuanced, but our enterprise has very specific playbooks because the cast of characters involved in these deals are different in a Target and a Walmart and a Sam's Club than they are in an American Girl. And so we segment them out, and partner agency looks different. So one hub, deviations, but my team is unbelievably connected, and we always talk about when we're adding new things as well. And we've got a team that's doing fantastic. Every time there's an update to a playbook, we're sending out alerts as well, so they can see what's new. Helpful?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I can ask a follow-up. You mentioned that you try to avoid and this was a message in an earlier presentation, trying to avoid more of the formal training. What percentage of your team's time is spent focused on creating playbooks and packaging for train the trainer model versus going out and, executing on training?
85-15, and then we weave it right from, I'm starting to get right in with recruiting now. The playbooks have to start to rear their heads there because we're interviewing around core capabilities. Ashley and the other team members with any of the onboarding, they're pulling it together there, continuing it goes along. I've got a mandate from my team right now, no classroom training at all. This is about content and information and getting into the world of reps. We've moved drastically away from it. Fingers crossed, it seems to be working. Yeah.
Thank you.
Who else? Anyone else have thoughts? Yeah.
So you mentioned segmenting playbooks based on mid-market or SMB or other different bands within the sales org.
Yeah.
Oftentimes I'm hearing AMs have a different process that they follow. NBS has a different process. SDRs have a different process. Do you also segment out playbooks based on roles?
Awesome question. So we probably all have similar types of orgs. We have new business. We've got hybrid roles now that do carry, but we still have the segmentation. So you would say you could have some new business, then you have client partners that grow and expand the accounts, and you might have support. So as of right now, we do keep the new biz and the client partner one together, only because we've merged to hybrid roles. You could make a case for a little bit of skill differentiation because growth and continued upsell looks very different. So I'd actually recommend you do a little segmentation. And then in our customer success side of things, which is more of our support arm, they are starting to create their own version as well. But if you just still put on the mindset of we did one central playbook that worked across 3 groups, don't lose that core hub. So stay as the air traffic controller and don't erode your hub, and then do nuanced by role. Yeah, that would work too.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's fun. I can talk about this all day.
Hi there. My name is Dave Lichtman. I have a question about the playbook itself and where the content comes from. So when you're on the playground, you're asking mothers, and you're crowdsourcing content from the field. Yeah. On your actual work playbook, how much comes from SMEs versus crowdsourced from the field?
Awesome. Let me see if I can get this rainbow bright collection together. It comes from multiple sources. It's coming from your subject matter experts. So we talk to we herded the animals in the wild. So you've got product people, you've got marketing people, and then we went to sales managers. We went right down to sales reps, both new, middle, and tenured. And then in addition to that, obviously on my team, we sourced information. But here's the linchpin. I still think we need to move beyond that because that's what's happening today. And so I encourage my team and myself constantly to say, what's going on out there? And so I would say 25% of the time has to be spent on what's going on out there. I've got a connection over at Yext. I go and sit on Brian Distelberger's sofa and we talk about his playbooks. Like, you've got to get connected to what's going on out there. So that's a big part of it as well. Because I would build your playbook for the results you need in the next 2 quarters and beyond, because just rehashing what they're currently doing today. It's a lot of hands on deck. So the skill set that you need is a really good team that can come together, look for the patterns and themes, and make sure that when you start to create that content, I sat in a room with our VP in Phoenix and went lockstep, like, Joe, are you good with this content? And before it goes live. Ashley's sitting there right now, I'm texting her, can you make sure on the next 6 ones that gets scrubbed? There's always going to be different variations, so lots and lots, but you've got to know when to stop as well.
Thank you.
Full? Yeah. I've got a flash and the 0. Good.
Hi, I believe you were is this on? Oh, yeah. I believe you were talking about serving up playbook content as it associates to Salesforce stages, and that you were in the works of doing that. So how do you measure the application of the playbook content to if the reps actually used it?
Yeah, there's no magic science. I get a little sweaty when we talk about measurement. It's touch points. I know that sounds crazy, but who is touching the playbooks and at what point? That's a metric, right? So of all of the total population, who actually leveraged the content at what point is the metric I'm working towards. And then the curveball on that would be, of all of the people who touched it, let's look at their performance and see if so-and-so touched it during detect or identify, the first 2 stages when we're going out and making calls and we're starting to have initial meetings, did it in fact move to close? So I don't want to oversimplify it. I haven't mastered it, but it's how many people are touching it, who's touching it, and what do we see as a result? Helpful? Yeah, it's a funny one. I like to do that with all of our content. That's the direction I want to move. It's just touch points. How many people are touching stuff? And then it also tells you what to build and what's being ignored, or what you need to promote a little bit more if you're not getting results. So at Bloomberg, actually, we had a challenge. We were sending proposals out, and flipping 63% of them were not coming back. Who gets to 63% of contracts not coming back? And so when we saw that, we're like, holy cow, we've got some work to do. Let's go to the drawing board. How are our reps responding to RFPs? How are they responding and bettering their proposals? And we flipped that number. We got it down to about 20%, which isn't bad. That took work, but we could only see that by reps going in there. Helpful? Okay, good. Last one? Yeah.
Great. So you mentioned that once you build the sales playbook and you release it, you launched it to the sales group. What is your tactics or strategy to continue to make it relevant? So it's not just a one-time event, but sales reps continue to learn pieces of the sales play continuously.
Yeah, I think I wake up every Monday morning and I ask myself that question. I literally do. I'm walking to the office yesterday. I've got a couple team members here. I've got Ashley on the phone. I'm like, Ashley, when you do these next 6, can you think about what are your 3 moves? Like, are you putting it in the newsletter? Are we going to do it at the next go-to-market launch? Can you ping the managers and talk to them? 5 years ago, I would have told you something different. Crazy as it is, wake up every Monday morning and say, what are all the thoughtful touch points, both short-term and long-term? Where can I continue to keep this alive? What new content needs to come in? Maybe shift to B-level content, C-level content. It's a non-stop. Our whole lives live and breathe out of this playbook, non-stop. Helpful a little bit? Wake up every Monday morning and say, what can I do? And talk to your reps. Our highest performing rep, who was sitting at President's Club in Whistler last week, saw a list of products and tools and what makes us unique in the eyes of the customer relative to competition. And Alex said, I didn't know some of these. He's been at Yelp 10 years. So we love Alex. He's our top performer. But Alex needs a little help too. right? I'm like, Alex, what do I need to do? He's like, I need it on my desk. I'm like, okay, we'll get it on your desk, but only you, because I don't want to break down trees. Yeah, cool. True story. We love Alex. Great.
We're good.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. I'm open to questions later. Thanks.
All right, guys. So